When you guys talk amongst yourselves, because I'm sure you do, Bobby, do y'all contemplate the specter of having to play games without fans in attendance? And if that is indeed the case, how do y'all feel about that?
Obviously, you thought about it. It's going to be weird, especially for us. We feel like our fans, provide a huge advantage, but obviously we got to be safe. But it's a long time from now, so it's kind of hard to figure out whether or not that's going to be the case. I think everybody's trying to figure out what the new normal is going to be once everything is lifted. And so, I'm hoping the fans will get there, but I feel like we got to do the right thing, the smart thing to kind of control this and make sure this is not something that we dealing with for a long period of time.
Bobby, it's tough to talk about stuff that's not, coronavirus related right now, but there are other things going on, including a draft that's coming up, including a collective bargaining agreement that got voted for that I know you didn't support. Let me start with the CBA. What were your problems with it?
I just felt, honestly, there was a rush. Felt like, the way some of the guys got the information, just, there's not a lot of guys that read 465 pages, let alone a whole CBA. And so I felt like the process was rushed. I felt like the guys didn't have all the information that they needed to really make a vote. A lot of the guys that I spoke with voted before even, reading it or talking to someone. So, that was kind of where it started with me. Obviously, player safety was a big deal for me. But I just feel my main concern, my main reason was just felt like it was rushed. And, I don't think, when we were getting all the information, we didn't get everything we should have gotten to make a clear vote.
Oh,
Stephen A?
Max, sorry. I thought you
Go
had
ahead, Max, follow up.
follow-up right there.
No,
No.
follow up, Max.
Well,
Go ahead.
yeah, no, that's fine. It's a follow-up, but it's not on this topic because there is a draft coming up. Whether virtual or otherwise, teams will be selecting players. And you were a guy who, when you were working out for teams, really impressed. You had an impressive college career. You get drafted in the second round. You're a 5-time all-first team or first-team all-pro. Those guys, a lot of times, wind up in the Hall of Fame. So as someone who, even though you were a second-round pick, was drafted way lower than where they accomplished, what do you think determines, as these teams are trying to figure out who they're going to select, the guys that rise? Like, how can you tell at that level the guys who rise to your level?
I think, honestly, it's, about film. Like, what do they put on film? And then once you get past the film, whether you like the way the guy plays or not, it's about heart and how much are they dedicated to the game. There's a lot of guys that, once they get to the league, they get the money, they get the everything else that comes with the game. They don't keep their focus. And, I think it's going to be a unique situation too, because I feel like a lot of the times when you get a situation where you watch 40 or watch a guy jump, that's what you basically, draft him off of those numbers. But you forget that the film is the most important thing. So this could be a situation where maybe some guys get passed up, maybe some guys get taken higher, but I think the film will show, what team were able to do their scouting during this time.
Bobby, I want to get your thoughts on something we were discussing earlier in the show. Tom Brady really opened up, did an interview with Howard Stern this morning, and we've been talking about it extensively. Obviously, he leaves the AFC, goes to the NFC where you guys play. Were you surprised by that move, and what kind of damage ultimately do you think that team, the Bucs, could do now?
I don't know. I kind of was with everybody else. I didn't know whether or not he was going to leave. I can't say I was too surprised. Because sometimes, when you're at a place for a long period of time, a lot of times you just need to change the scenery. So, even somebody as great as he is can get to a situation where, he wants to change the scenery. And I think that's what he did. And he made the decision for his family. And, I think, I haven't had too many conversations with him, but he seems like a guy that likes to challenge himself. So I think this is a challenge for him. I think he has a lot of weapons down in Tampa. They have a great defense. So it's going to be a good challenge. And hopefully we'll see him in the playoffs.
Bobby, one of the first things we talked about, one of the other things we talked about on this show earlier was Russell Wilson, your quarterback. Obviously, one of the best in the game. There is no question about that. You guys were 11-5 last year, but lost in the postseason to the Green Bay Packers. I'd like to know, how are you feeling about your team coming into this season and what kind of noise they're going to make, particularly with Drew Brees returning to New Orleans, Tom Brady arriving in Tampa, Aaron Rodgers still in Green Bay, et cetera, et cetera. How do you, in San Francisco being the reigning NFC champions, how are you feeling about your Seattle Seahawks and their prospects, assuming we have an upcoming season?
I feel really confident. Obviously, Russell is an amazing quarterback. The things that he does on the field is just amazing. Like you said, he's one of the greatest, quarterbacks in our game. And, we're confident on that side. I feel like from a defensive standpoint, there's a lot of room for improvement. We have to play a little bit better. I feel like if we make those changes and make those improvements, I still feel like we will be the team to beat. First we got to win the NFC West, which I feel like we're confident that we're going to do, and then we move on from there. But, those guys have great teams, but at the end of the day, it's just paper. It's you got to prove it on the field.
Bobby, I want to talk about the NFC West, obviously one of the toughest divisions in football. In Jimmy Garoppolo specifically, because we do talk about him quite a bit on this show, and you go up against him. What's your assessment of him as a quarterback?
Yeah, I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's made a lot of strides. I know a lot of people counted him out after his injury. So for him to come back and play the way he did, you definitely have to tip your hat off to him. And so, I feel like he makes good reads. He gets the ball out of his hands pretty quick. He's able to obviously lead that team to a victory. So it's a guy you have to respect.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.